Left to freeze, he built ovens from rock and fed the beasts that were meant to kill him. The lander's beacon died on day 3. Koss didn't panic. Panic was a luxury for people who expected rescue. He inventoried what remained: a damaged atmospheric suit, a titanium knife, 3 days of rations, and approximately 14 hours of usable daylight before Kepler. For 42B's primary dip below the horizon, the colony had abandoned him deliberately. He understood the calculus. The atmospheric processor was failing, and he'd volunteered for the repair mission, knowing the suit's heating elements were degraded, knowing the external temperature averaged minus 71 Celsius. He'd made peace with it during the 3-month journey. Some problems required sacrifice. What he hadn't counted on were the readers. They appeared on the thermal ridge at dusk, massive silhouettes against a rust-colored sky. Koss's scanner identified 3 distinct heat signatures, each radiating approximately 140 degrees Celsius. The xenobiology team had named them readers because they moved with an almost investigative slowness. Their sensory organs, the undulating appendages along their cranial ridge, constantly sampling the air, the ground, the electromagnetic noise of anything living nearby. They were hunters. The colony had documented 7 kills over 18 months. Koss was the 8th potential meal. He moved toward the outcropping 2 kilometers east, where ancient lava tubes honeycombed basalt. The readers didn't pursue. They simply followed, those heat signatures, steady and patient. They had evolved on a world where patience meant survival. Koss had maybe 4 hours of metabolic heat left before his body became a stationary target. Inside the largest cave, he found what he needed: exposed basalt columns, rough and abundant. He began breaking them methodically, striking with the titanium knife against the natural fracture planes. Muscle memory from his Jovian mining days took over. Within an hour, he'd carved a rough chamber 10 meters deep, lined the walls of the flattest stones, and begun construction. The oven took shape from desperation and remembered thermodynamics. He stacked stones in a dome formation, using the cave's narrowest opening to funnel outside air while maintaining an internal heat chamber. His oxygen recycler had a thermal output of approximately 60 watts. Not much, but enough. The key was insulation and ventilation. The key was understanding that heat was a weapon, but more importantly, it was a language. By the time true darkness fell, his core temperature had dropped to 35.2 degrees Celsius. Hypothermia was 3 hours away. He sat inside his stone oven, watching his breath miss in the recycled air, and waited. The readers came at night. They filled the cave mouth with their bulk, those sensory appendages writhing against the stone. Koss could see their thermal signature through the gaps in his makeshift structure. They were agitated, confused. Koss's body heat, normally a beacon to their predatory senses, was being diffused and disrupted by the stone enclosure. More than that, the atmospheric processor's thermal exhaust was creating a barrier of warm air between him and the outside temperature. He realized then what the readers were actually detecting. They were chemical sensors, reading the trace compounds his body expelled with each breath. They were hunting by smell, by the subtle biochemistry of mammalian exhalation. His oven wasn't just thermal insulation. It was a filter, capturing his breath against the stones, cooling it, changing its signature. They investigated for 40 minutes. Koss sat motionless, watching their silhouette circle. He thought about the irony. He built a structure that mimicked their own metabolism. Readers maintained internal heat through some form of thermoregulatory process the colony never fully understood. They were warm-blooded creatures in a frozen world. Just like him, when the largest reader finally withdrew, the others followed. Koss watched their heat signatures retreat across the frozen plain, moving toward the thermal vents in the southern ridge where the colony knew they denayed. He remained in the oven through the night, shivering, rationing his breath. By morning, his scanner showed their temperature signatures had stabilized near the vents. They had given up. He'd won. Or so he thought until he found the first sample. 3 days later, when the colony's rescue team finally located him, they found the readers had returned, not to hunt, to feed. Koss emerged from his oven to find them clustered at the cave entrance, depositing something on the cold stone. Prey, small creatures, indigenous fauna, equivalent of rabbits or hares, dead and still warm. The readers had brought him food. Koss stared at the offering, then at his rescuers' confused faces. The lead medic was already running scans. "Vital stable?" she asked. "Fine," Koss heard himself say. "They left. They're gone." But he could see them out on the ridge, watching, waiting. And he understood finally what the colony should have understood from the beginning. The readers didn't hunt indiscriminately. They learned. They recognized patterns. They understood problem solving. They understood negotiation. His hands were still warm from the oven's last embers as he climbed into the lander. The readers didn't retreat. They simply waited for him to come back.